Hey guys, I'm Esther. I'm here to teach you all about learning the violin and how to move from a beginner to an advanced level on the violin. So today I want to share with you some of my top tips for sounding much better on the violin, even if you're a complete beginner. All of these tips today are going to be focused on how you use your bow and how that can really improve your sound as a beginner. I'll just do a quick refresher of the bow on the violin. You're going to be playing with your bow between the bridge and the fingerboard. So the fingerboard is this black piece right here. The bridge is this wooden piece right here. And I like to call this space between the bow highway, because this is where you want your bow almost all the time to be. And for the most part, you usually want to have your bow right about in the middle of that when you're first playing on the violin. This is a good spot to be. If you're struggling to get a good sound on the violin, a good way to start out is to think of your bow in sections. So your bow has the tip is the top of it. And at the bottom here, we call this the frog. And then here in the middle, we have the middle. So I have some little stickers, and this is a great way if you're a beginner to keep track of the different sections of the bow and where you're playing. These little colorful circles that you can get from Office Max or from Amazon. And I'll link that down below if you want these. You're going to want 2 of these. And we are going to portion off our bow. So we're going to split the bow into 3 sections. And so think of this as, this is obviously the whole bow, but then we want to split off the first third. So I'm going to put this yellow sticker about right here. I can always readjust later if I need to. And then the second third, which is like the middle part of our bow, I'm going to put right about here. Okay, so now we have the bow portioned into 3 sections. So we're going to call this the frog of the bow. This is the middle of the bow, and this is the tip of the bow. A good idea is to use this middle section of the bow to get comfortable with playing first, and then you'll start moving into the frog and into the tip. So right now I'll demonstrate just a simple bowing on the open string using that middle portion of the bow. We'll use the A string. And I'll show you from this direction so that you can see how I'm using from one sticker to the other, and I use that as my guide. All right, so as you're doing that, then you want to look right here where your bow is playing, and you want to watch. And what you want to watch for is that you're staying on the bow highway in the middle with a straight bow. Now, something I want to show you about my hand is that in order to keep a straight bow, to get a nice sound, you do need to change a little bit of the way your hand moves and your elbow. There's a tiny bit of a pushing outward like this in this direction when you're moving down. And then when you come up, there's a tiny bit of your hand moving back this way. Now, it's not very dramatic, but there is some movement, and it's good to be aware of that so that you can feel that you're doing a little bit of going out and then in. I'm just being a little more dramatic to show you on the video, but it will be a very tiny little motion in both of those directions. The next thing is, if you're getting too much of a crunch when you are playing, like that, kind of those icky sounds, it may be that you are starting too fast and then slowing down, or putting a little bit too much pressure into your bow. So what you can do to change that is you can try to play with a very steady speed. So you want to maintain the same speed from down to up to down to up without suddenly going faster or suddenly stopping. That's the first thing. The second thing is you want to keep a very even weight on your bow as well. So you don't want to suddenly put a bunch of pressure in, like where you just dig in all of a sudden, or lighten up too much all of a sudden. You want to let your arm just relax and rest on the string, and then you let your hand rest on the bow, and it can even put a little bit of weight into it, but you don't want to push into it too much. Otherwise, that will create that kind of crunchy sound that you hear. Once you've let your arm relax and your hand relax into the string, then just start by pulling a smooth, steady motion and try to keep that speed the same as you go down, up. Once you feel comfortable in that middle portion, then you can start moving into the next sections. So now you could take just the tip section, which is that top part, and do the same thing. So starting at that top sticker, you can go from here to the tip of the bow, down and up. I'm going to show you from this angle because now that you're up at the tip of the bow, your hand is going to be pushed outward quite a bit more in order to keep the bow straight on that bow highway. So you can see that my arm is pushing more this way, especially as I get to the tip. When I say straight bow, what I mean is that you're keeping the wood of your bow parallel with the bridge. So the last section is that frog section. So it's going to be from the bottom of the frog all the way to that first sticker. I'll show you from this angle first. All right, so now we'll go from this way. And what you'll see is that my elbow, in order to keep the bow straight, my elbow kind of comes inward and my wrist is going to move up quite a bit. And my fingers also get pulled in just a little bit in order to keep the bow straight. So you still want to keep a nice straight bow, also just relaxing your arm, letting the bow just rest on the string, and a nice, smooth, gentle, steady stroke. So that's a great way to practice in all parts of the bow, to get used to the different sections of the bow, to get comfortable with the different positions of your arm, and then how to maintain a nice straight bow that stays parallel to that bridge. Those are all very important for getting a nice sound on your violin. Now, once you've mastered each of those sections, just doing on the open string, then you can start doing the entire bow from frog to tip and practicing nice full bows where you go all the way down and then all the way up. Your arm will go through all those different positions that we just talked about, from where your elbow is more in like this and your wrist up like this. And so you could see my hand went through all those positions. While you do want to maintain that nice bow hold in place, there is going to need to be a lot of flexibility for your fingers to kind of move just a little bit and for your wrist and your arm to move. And so as you make these adjustments, your fingers will slightly have to move and adjust to go along with your bow and to maintain that nice steady bow and that nice straight bow that's parallel to your bridge. So those are all some quick tips to sound much better as a beginner on your violin. So don't forget about putting those stickers and then practicing in those 3 main sections of your bow. And then you'll be more comfortable to start doing those big, long, full bows using all of those 3 sections together. I hope this was helpful for you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like down below. And you can subscribe to my channel for many more videos, how to learn violin and how to grow from beginner to advanced on violin.